What's up, internet? The Black Hokage here, aka TBH, and to be honest, Ubisoft gave me some early hands-on time with Assassin Creed Valhalla, and I'm worried about this game. But before I get into it, just allow me to state my experience with the Assassin's Creed franchise. For those of you unfamiliar with my content, because I'm sure this video will attract some new people to the channel, I've played and completed every Assassin's game in the mainline series. I am a big fan. Hell, I have over 200 hours in Assassin's Creed Odyssey alone. My 200-part playthrough is available for anybody to watch on my second channel over at Black Hokage Plays, for those of you who don't believe me. And the reason I bring up my history is because every community has fanboys and they love to toss around who is and isn't qualified to talk about something. I've put a lot of hours into this franchise, so I could argue I'm one of the most qualified people to talk about this new game. And I've got some major concerns about Valhalla, so allow me to set the mood. I was given 3 hours to play with this game. I don't know how old the build was. I don't know where exactly I was in the story. All I know is that I was given access to a few story missions, and then I was thrust into the open world where I was free to explore all the side content it had to offer. So understand that everything I'm about to say, everything I'm about to critique, is solely based off what I played in this demo, and also keep in mind that things are subject to change because this game is also a work in progress. I'm simply commenting on what Ubisoft gave me to play, nothing more, nothing less. So let's start with the positives. The first positive note I like to leave is the new combat animations are dope. Combat plays similar to Origins and Odyssey in a sense that there's a heavy emphasis on movement, parrying, bows and arrows, and special moves that can be activated by holding down the right trigger and then hitting the corresponding button. The new moves are flashy and brutal. You are leaping high into the air to pounce on your enemies, you're throwing axes, decapitating people, and more. If you're into that gory stuff, you're going to like this aspect of the game. To make matters even better, there's a large tree of perks obtainable that feel like they never end. You know, things like increased damage, resistance, fire damage, stealth damage, and more. And as for the ability skill tree, we were not allowed to access that, so I can't comment on that. I can only comment on the few abilities I was allowed to play with, and they were cool in my opinion. Now, last but not least, the last new thing that I enjoyed in this demo was the dynamic world events. They are side quests sprinkled all throughout the map, and I enjoyed these more than the mainline quests that I got to play. They had great characters, emotions, they were hilarious, great little stories. They were pleasant little surprises that you run into in the map randomly. Like, I was wandering through the forest and I found this woman that was trying to pray away the hatred in the world while she stood over several dead bodies from a battle that previously happened. And then I stumble upon her and she turns around and she says to me that I'm part of the problem. And then she pulls a knife on me after she gets done praying. And I had to beat her ass. The shit was kind of funny. Or how about when I ran into a father and a son? The dad wanted me to show the son the glory of dying in battle, so he asked me to fight him, and after I beat his ass and I stabbed him to death, the water turns red with blood, and the little boy is just sitting in the lake on his knees, and he thanks me for enlightening him.
Father, I understand. I see the glory you spoke of. Go now to Valhalla.
So leaving the boy with no guidance was supposed to help?
I guess. I guess so.
I don't know about that one.
You know, times were very different back then.
Once again, the shit was kind of weird, but it was funny. I actually really enjoyed that side stuff because it had so much personality to it. But sadly, that's where the positives end for me. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. It really hurt my soul to play this demo, man. I mean, my stomach was literally turning at certain points. I love Origins and I love Odyssey. I was really hoping Ubisoft would go 3 for 3 with this new trilogy. Look, I'm not saying this game will fail, but my time with this demo did leave me feeling pessimistic. Yes, the new combat moves shown off were cool, but it was far too much emphasis put on action in this demo. I get they're Vikings, but this is called Assassin's Creed. There was literally only a short moment where I had to test my stealth skills in my 3-hour demo session. About 2 hours and 45 minutes of my time with this game was straight balls to the wall Call of Duty high octane action. And you know, the irony of it all is, half the action was boring as hell. In this game, you have to storm castles, and that shit was boring. You pull up in a boat you have next to no control over, by the way, and then you let enemies spam fire arrows at you. Then you hold the block button so you don't die. Repeat that about 5 more times before you make it to the shores of the castle. It's supposed to be this whole spooky, tense scene moment leading up to the crash or rush to get your adrenaline going, but it's boring filler. So when you finally get to the castle, then it's just a complete shit show. The battering rams come out and you have to balance fighting archers and ground soldiers while helping your fellow Vikings ram the door. The battering ram is so fucking slow. Then when you're finally in the castle, there's barely anything to climb, so it forces you to play a certain type of way. It honestly felt like a watered down For Honor. It was just wave after wave of enemies and it got boring quickly. In the back of my head, I began to wonder, I was like, what the fuck does this have to do with Assassin's Creed? A lot of people who have not played Odyssey felt that way about Odyssey. They were like, what the fuck does this have to do with Assassin's Creed? But slight spoiler, the game is basically about the birth of the Templar Order, and you can play that game completely stealthy, so it felt like an Assassin's game to me. This game? It felt like I was playing a Viking game with Assassin's Creed's name slapped on it. I got to play multiple story missions and nowhere was the Brotherhood mentioned, nothing like the Templars, the Cult, Abstergo, Pieces of Eden, you know, Assassin's Creed shit. I wasn't looking for spoilers in the demo, just a little something to bite on, like what the fuck are the Viking, what does this have to do with Assassin's? Once again, I was thinking in my head, what does this have to do with Assassin's Creed? Now, if I could take it a step back, I do remember when I previewed Assassin's Creed Odyssey at E3 a few years ago, no story elements were given in that preview, but I realized I gave that game a pass because I was having fun with that demo. I'm a gameplay first type of person, and I was not having fun with this game. The reason being is because the game is a fake ass Dark Souls. You notice that new blue bar below your health bar? That's the stamina meter. You better not run out of stamina or you're gonna get clapped. To me, the gameplay loop is confusing because this is the most action-driven Assassin's Creed game yet, but now you chose to limit how many times I can swing my axe? Why speed up the flow of the combat, then limit me? If I wanted to play a Soulsborne game, I'd go play a Soulsborne game. I feel like this whole topic is gonna be polarizing. Some people are going to like the stamina bar, but it just wasn't for me. Now, when it comes to the open world, it is dull and boring. It's mostly just gray everywhere. It felt like I was riding a horse through Cleveland. To make matters worse, the game forces you to stare at the land of Cleveland because I forgot to mention, oh yeah, your horse? It has a stamina meter bar too. Whoa, 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 slow down. You think you about to go from mission to mission with speed? Nah, you need to stare at all this poverty and desolation. And I get it. It was the Viking era. That's how things were. But all I'm saying is, it's hard to go from the beautiful sands of Egypt and Origin and the colorful foliage in Greece and Odyssey to basically playing Assassin's Creed in fucking Cleveland and Detroit. To make matters worse, they fixed something that doesn't need fixing. Your bird, the Raven now, you can still mark enemies from the sky, but the ping system is ass. When you mark enemies, it puts this grayish white line on the enemy, but it's not always easy to see because Cleveland is cloudy and the marker blends in with the cloudiness, so the game forces you to aimlessly crouch, walk around, and use the new feature that they're calling Odin Vision, but that's just Eagle Vision repackaged. It's helpful, but the line of sight is limited, so you might not scan everything. I would have preferred if they just left the bird's view the way it was, like in Odyssey and Origin. Now, one of the big new features that they're touting is the mini games in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There is fishing in this. I got to do it. I'm gonna be honest. Did nothing for me. There's a drinking game, but it basically amounts to just a QTE contest. They have roasting battles in this game. They're called flighting. I'm not gonna lie, I was excited about this feature when I first read about it on the website, but the execution on this is just really poor. It's a waste of time. You're basically just reciting a poem to somebody for some extra silver.
They say you're a coward who runs from a fight.
And they're sorely mistaken. I'm known for my might.
Interesting.
And then I got to play like some bow and arrow game where I had to hit some pots, just testing your aim. It once again, it did nothing for me. But the greatest crime I seen this game commit was you don't even get the option to. Don't worry though, guys. Ubisoft does give you the option to pet that cat. Look, man, jokes aside, this game isn't flat out terrible. It just plays like a lesser version of Origins and Odyssey. I'm okay with action, but I prefer to lead with stealth, and if I mess up, then I'll start a fight. This demo had too much focus on action, and I pray this was just something they did for the demo to try to appeal to the mainstream dude bros, but I fear they could alienate the core audience if this is what the entire gameplay loop is. It felt like Ubisoft made a Viking game, but they slapped Assassin's Creed's name on it so that people would buy it. But look, I feel like I'm being too negative. So if I could end this video on a positive note, I'd like to say that I only played for 3 hours. We don't know anything about the story. It could honestly be fire. This is still a work in progress, so things are subject to change. Hopefully they'll listen to some of the feedback that I provided. I didn't get to see the full skill tree and the perks it had to offer. I was told parkour puzzles are back, which is something that I think has been missing in my opinion from the series for a very long time. I love that shit. I don't know about the main character. The main character shows potential. There's moments where she acts like a caveman, but then there's also moments where she's kind of charming. You can play as a dude too, by the way. So the verdict is still out on the main character. All I hope is that I'm wrong about everything that I said today. That's what I hope that I'm wrong about everything that I said today, and that this was just a vertical slice. I hope that there's more options for stealth players, because when I asked the developers about the new stealth skills and gameplay, it was cricket. But hopefully you guys can answer the call to hitting the like button on this video if you found it helpful. If you did, leave a comment below. And if you're new to the channel, hit the sub button. And I will holler at you guys on the next video. Peace.